Bilestoad was an Apple II game of legendary violence. Rejected from a number of publishers, including Sierra On-Line and Muse software, author Marc Goodman, under the pseudonym Mangrove Earthshoe, eventually convinced Datamost to publish the game in 1982, while he was a college student at Georgia Tech. The game's setup is simple. 2 players are put on a large island, holding axes and shields. The camera is directly overhead. The players use the keyboard to individually control their avatar's axe arm, shield arm, and legs. The object of the game is to win, and you win by decapitating the other player. The game looks pretty laughable today, with the photorealistic graphics we're used to. But at the time it was shocking. Datamost even included a warning in the manual saying, "It is not intended for children, and parents should decide whether it is suitable for small users." For a game whose premise is beat each other to death with axes, the manual goes to great lengths to assure us that this isn't real violence. The premise is that this is a virtual reality simulation taking place to entertain the jaded people of the 25th century. You could play against the computer, or you could even have the computer play against itself, but where the Bilestoad shined was in-person PvP. Each player took 9 keys on each side of the keyboard and used them to move their men. Combat was lumbering and slow. Sure, maybe that's a stylistic thing, but it's also a reflection of how slow the Apple II was. The game seems to run at about 2 frames per second. While I haven't looked at the code, my guess is that the game is using page flipping, drawing to one of the Apple's high-res areas while it's off-screen, and then swapping it with the other, and then repeating the process. One good strategy was to focus your attacks on your opponent's axe arm. Do enough damage and you can cut an arm off, after which your enemy will have to run away. That's when the various teleportation pads come into play. I didn't know this at the time because I pirated the game like everyone else, but the various teleportation pads have awesome names: Scheiben, Läufers, Monstrals, and Zonenstrahl. If you don't want to kill your opponent, you can actually score points by stepping on the Zonenstrahl, which ends the round and proceeds to the next island. But most of the people I knew just wanted to bash each other with axes without even thinking about points. One nifty aspect of the game is how it handled things when the players were far apart. Rather than splitting the screen, the Bilestoad used the idea of a TV camera. About every 5 seconds, the camera would cut to the other player. Movement was still possible even when you're off screen, but eventually most battles resulted in the players being close to each other, at which point they'd both be in view. The Bilestoad is also an object lesson in the cost of piracy. Almost everyone I knew with an Apple II had a copy of the Bilestoad. It was beloved. It was the most popular game of 1983, yet only 5,000 copies were ever sold. To make matters worse, the author never even saw the royalties from the copies that did sell. Datamost, almost out of business, defaulted on the $4,000 they owed him. Unable to even recoup the costs of development, Marc Goodman concluded, reasonably, that he couldn't support himself by writing games, and the Bilestoad was the last game he ever made. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to learn about another great retro game, leave a suggestion in the comments below, or drop me a line at tealeaves on Twitter.